Joining us on the program now from the Parenting Place, Kristen Ward. Kia ora, good morning. Thanks for your time today.
Morena, Andrew.
Now, different families have different dynamics, but one thing that most have in common, as I say, apart from only child situations, is a little bit of rivalry, a little bit of sparring between the children, and it can be a nightmare for parents. How do we tackle this?
Yeah, it really is common. Siblings hanging out together certainly doesn't always look harmonious. And if you watch children, there's just so much going on. I listened recently to a podcast that said that preschoolers' siblings have about 56 skirmishes per hour.
Wow.
So they can be arguing about whose turn it is and how to share it. That's my special bit of Lego. You can't use it, or you hit me with the stick. That's not the game. You were meant to just pretend to sword fight, and it goes on and on. And we can,
gosh,
as parents,
a minute. That's quite spectacular and challenging to keep up with. Is it the case that actually we don't need to interrupt all 57 of those interactions, that some of them we just let go by, we let them sort it out amongst themselves and only jump in for the big stuff?
Yeah, exactly, Andrew. Like, one thing that we find in parent coaching, parents can feel, we hear this a lot, that parents say, I have to play with the kids myself all the time, otherwise it goes to custard. And that's a common feeling amongst parents. They're so exasperated listening to this, they feel really stressed out. And but actually, if you sit back and look and reframe what's happening, we can see that there's actually so much valuable stuff going on. Kids are discussing the rules, they're discussing the roles, they're arguing, learning to argue about what is fair, advocate for themselves. They're learning their limits physically. When is it a game and when is it going to hurt my sibling? And we can reframe the fact that this is actually a stunning opportunity for social development, and we want our children to have lots of it, to be people that can speak up, to be people that can have empathy and notice how their actions are affecting someone else. So parents can find that very helpful to actually reframe what's happening when kids
it
are
may
fighting.
seem frustrating, but actually this is such a growth opportunity, and in fact maybe a disadvantage for only children, needing to find other ways to socialize, to learn the social skills that they'll need into adulthood, right?
It could be. I mean, so yeah, it can be useful for parents to take a step back and even at times stay out of sight a little bit. Like sometimes if we walk into a room, we notice a child is immediately trying to hook us in. Mom, he's being mean. Whereas if we just are keeping an eye from around the door, we might notice that they can resolve it themselves, and that's a really cool skill. But of course there are times when we do need to step in, and those are if we notice someone is always getting their way and someone is always giving way, if we notice that there's some real unkind name calling, words that are really harmful, hurtful, and also physically when people are getting too rough, that is definitely.
I mean, part of this, I'm sure, is ages and stages. That if there's if the slightly older child is more likely to enforce their will over the younger sibling, that's usually the pattern, but not always, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely usually the pattern, and parents can be very tempted to just always take the younger child's side and protect them, and we really want both children to feel listened to equally, both children to feel like their perspective is heard, and we also want our younger children to learn not to be victims and to learn to stand up for themselves and
honestly,
use their words.
As the youngest in the family, I learned that art of getting my older siblings in trouble. That can, the arts of manipulation also can be useful in later life, but that's not something we necessarily want to encourage. It's part of the problem taking sides, though, that as parents, yes, there are times that we need to intervene, times that we need to let them sort it out amongst themselves. But if we do take sides, if we too often take the side of one child over the other, this can cause some long-term problems.
Yeah, kids can really have a feeling of injustice building up, and it can cause them to be nastier with their words or to provoke each other more. So we do need to give our children equal attention, let them feel heard, let them feel understood for their perspective. And often we may need to put a boundary in place. If you think unkind words are just spilling out of one of your children and they're saying, I don't even want a brother, or something like that, something that is really quite hurtful for the other child to hear, we might need to say, look, come and talk to me in the bedroom. I want to hear what you've got to say. I want to hear what you are feeling. It's important that you're talking to me, and those words are too hurtful. You're not going to say them in front of your brother, but it's important that you can tell me how you're feeling, and we'll talk about it. So that can be a boundary that we put in place. But I really do want to encourage parents not to remove all opportunities to squabble. Sometimes as parents, we think, oh my goodness, we're so tired, we really want to sleep in on Sunday morning. Let's just give them each an iPad each. And I can guarantee you that would give you a sleep in. That would give you more peace.
If you give them one iPad, they'll probably hit each other with it.
Well, that's the thing. It would work to give them a screen each, but we're losing an opportunity there where they need to negotiate, figure out a turn-taking system, something that feels fair, and then every second time or whatever, every third time, they are watching something on TV that's not their first choice, and they're tolerating it. They're learning to sit with minor irritation, disappointment. That's what builds resilience in kids. That's what helps them not to be the people that explode every time they're not getting their first choice. So we are building resilience in our children when we allow them to tolerate.
Taking that conflict and turning it into a learning opportunity as well. Hey, thank you so much for the work that you do at Parenting Place. If people wanted to find out more about the work that you do and more specific advice on some of the challenges that they're facing as parents, what's the best way of doing that?
Jump on our website. And so I'm from the parent coaching team, and we have 3 parent coaches. And sibling conflict can be quite intense, and it can be quite serious. So if this feels like you want to talk more about your particular situation, come along to some coaching sessions.
Very good indeed. Thank you so much for your work. Thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.